From our 22 News Broadcast Center, this is 22 News in Focus.
Good Sunday afternoon. Welcome to 22 News in Focus. I'm Ashley Afonso. 2017 was a year of economic growth in the Pioneer Valley, from the opening of the Regional Transportation Center at Union Station and construction of CRRC manufacturing plant, and of course MGM Springfield, to the Viaduct Highway revitalization. The city of Springfield and surrounding communities are seeing an upswing in jobs and educational opportunities. 2 weeks ago, a new campaign to promote a positive image and promote progress in the city was announced. The Springfield You Don't Know project. Today on 22 News in Focus, we'll be discussing the campaign as well as what the city and surrounding communities can look forward to economically in 2018. Joining me now to talk about this campaign is Springfield Mayor Dominic Sarno, Rick Sullivan, the President and CEO of the Economic Development Council of Western Massachusetts, Timothy Brennan, Executive Director of the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, and Edward Zemba, President of Link to VR and Robert Charles Photography. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Ashley. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.
To all your viewers, TV 22.
So let's start with this campaign. What exactly is it, the Springfield You Don't Know?
Well, what happened, Kevin Kennedy and I have been talking about this for quite a while, and working with George Arwady, the publisher of the Republican. I'd spoken at an event, the Basketball Hall of Fame, which I believe Timmy Brennan was hosting, and Rick Sullivan actually introduced me, and came up with This is Springfield, and that we needed to start to do little caveats or vignettes about tell our story, because if we don't tell our story, somebody else will tell the story, and a lot of times that might not be a positive image. So the timing is perfect. This is not smoke and mirrors. There's plenty of good things going on in the city of Springfield and the region. We want to do a regional campaign. But we wanted to make sure that we got out there, because you're going to have literally thousands, I mean thousands of people matriculating in the city of Springfield every day, pedestrians and vehicular traffic, millions a year with everything we have going on. So now we need to harness this economic development engine and get it out there and do a campaign working with our media partners and our business partners, the old standbys, Mass Mutual, Big Y, and now other partners coming across. We need to tell our story of Springfield. MGM will do their own story. They're very well versed on it. But the real Springfield, all the things that are going on from neighborhoods all the way up to the businesses and economic development we have going on.
So what's the message you're hoping to convey with this?
I think the message is that there's a lot of really good things going on, not only in the city of Springfield for sure, but really in the region. And I do think that good news kind of breeds further good news. So you need that catalyst and momentum. And right now there's a lot of good news and there is a lot of momentum, and we really need to build on that. I think the time is now. And as the mayor said, if we don't tell the story, no one else will. So we were fortunate from the EDC point of view. Our media members, 22 and 40 and Mass Live, the Republican, and Comcast got together and working with the city in particular on this campaign, looking to put together that media message that'll roll out in early 2018 to continue the progress and continue the economic development opportunities in Springfield and in the region of Western Mass.
There's obviously a lot of planning that went in. There's a lot of big changes that have been happening in Springfield. Do you feel like 2018 is really the year we're seeing all these pieces come together?
It is now, because now we had a 5-year plan. We're moving into the 4th year plan when it pertains to Springfield. Again, this marketing campaign is going to be taken, it's going to go south to the Connecticut, the Hartford area. We're going to be able to go to the east, Worcester, Boston area. We're going to go west to the New York area, and we're going to go up to the New England area too to get the word on it. But we want to tell the story of Springfield. You mentioned with Union Station, CRRC, the Jazz Fest. We're the home of Dr. Seuss. The Basketball Hall of Fame is going through a $30 to $35 million renovation project that is going on. The parks, the libraries, market rate housing. One big thing I want to say is that the innovation and entrepreneurial spirit of the city of Springfield, we are the city of first, has come back tenfold. If you look at it with Valley Ventures, You look at with Tech Spring, which is Bay State Medical Center, and you look at it with Tech Foundry, Delsey Bean. The jobs that are being created now are in the thousands, which would rank, and Rick can probably tell you, Tim Brennan, in a top 4 to 6 if you put them all together with our big companies that we have. This is driving our market rate housing downtown. This is driving investment, and this is driving investment in the eclectic type mix of restaurants and things that we're looking to bring around. But we want to tell the story of the Springfield that people don't know, and that's important. That goes from our neighborhoods all the way up to the mega projects.
Okay, and the campaign will obviously run here in the Pioneer Valley. Will it stretch any further than that as well, or sticking here?
Yeah, no, I think as the mayor said, it certainly will have this local component to it, but it'll also look to the south, to the Hartford area, going east to Worcester, as well as north and south. So, you know, it will be larger than that. Certainly it's not a national or international campaign, but it is a larger regional message. And I think it's important to point out that, you know, it isn't just Springfield that's on the rise. There's development literally from, you know, Greenfield down through the, all the way down the 91 corridor to Agawam. And the EDC did a study about a year and a half ago that showed there's $5.2 billion of investment that's currently happening in our region. That's a big number for us. It's an exciting time. So we're looking to capitalize on that, that there's opportunities here to come and live. It's a great place to live and to recreate. There's jobs, there's opportunities here, a chance to grow. And that is the message. So the Springfield campaign will allow us at the EDC to enlarge upon that campaign a little bit and also send that larger regional message to talk about those great things in Hampshire County and Franklin County and the other communities in Hampden as well. Okay.
Are you working with any regional tourism councils as well?
Well, certainly there's actually 4 regional tourism councils in our area. The Greater Springfield is certainly the largest of the 4, but we will work with them a little bit, although this is not just a tourist campaign, and I think that that's important. They do their own thing around tourism. Tourism's a hugely important industry for us in Western Mass, 3rd largest industry in the region, and this certainly will help that, and I will say complement it. So we will work with them, but it is not driven by tourism. This is really driven about telling the story of what specifically is happening in Springfield and how that relates to the region.
Okay. The mayor mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but how did this campaign come to be?
Well, everything that we have going on now, unfortunately, and we're in the age of reality TV, and negativity sells. If it bleeds, it leads. And as Rick had mentioned too, we need to tell our story. And the more and more that people hear, geez, I didn't realize that's going on in Springfield or the Western Mass area. And to the businesses that we reached out to, and I'm very thankful that the EDC with Rick Sullivan has stepped forward to make this a regional type campaign, and also to our business community. The way I sold it to them is that good news, you'll make money. And every businessman or businesswoman deserves to make $1 if you're running a good quality product and good quality business. So when you started to tick off all the things that have occurred, and this is coming off of, and we wanted to build it regionally, but Springfield parochial, you know, it's tough enough as it is to run an urban center. It's not impossible, and we've come off some natural disasters, which we've done very well coming off of that, and we've been able to garner about $3.3 billion in economic development. Some major projects, and again, MGM will tell their own story. We'll work with them, but we needed to tell the story of Springfield, the foundation of Springfield. And I mentioned some of the things that are going on here, and to let people know, whether it's south, east, west, north. So when we have all these, literally going to have millions of people coming here a year, now is the time to harness this economic development engine, job creation, the market rate housing that we're creating, the neighborhoods, and tell the good story of the city of Springfield and the region. And the more good news that we get out there, the more I feel that the bottom line of businesses and the residents is going to be better. It's concrete now. It's not smoke and mirrors. 22 is reported on a number of great things that we have going on here, and I also want to thank Bill Pepin. He's one of the media partners here. We're going to harness the creativity of all our media partners. Caveats, vignettes. This is Springfield. This is the Springfield you don't know. And then with Rick and all the other players here, we'll start to expand that to the region. So everybody can benefit with this. But as Chancellor Subaswamy said of University of Massachusetts, and I've always said it, he said it, Springfield is the capital of Western Massachusetts, and as long as I'm mayor, we're going to continue to act as the capital of Western Massachusetts.
All right, we'll continue this conversation when we return from the break. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Welcome back to 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about economic development and growth in Springfield in 2018. One of the main drivers of the city's economic renewal is MGM Springfield and the casino project. So we will get to that in just a second, but let's go back to where we left off here. We're talking about this campaign in Springfield and how it's shedding a positive light on Springfield, but how regionally will this help other communities?
Well, I think it's all important. The old adage is, so goes Springfield, so goes the region. Right now, Springfield is a success story, and we need to use that success story to build momentum and sustainability. Can't be a flash in the pan. So there has to be content there to market to a broader audience. It's interesting to note that Springfield, of the 5 largest cities, not only in Western Mass, but in Connecticut, Springfield is the largest. So it's an anchor institution for the entire Knowledge Corridor, which is a cross-border sort of partnership. So the more that we can make this story public inside that region, because you need an army of cheerleaders for this venture, the more it's believable outside the region. So it's really a 2-4.
Okay, and who are some of the businesses and different organizations that we're going to see pulled into this?
So first of all, I just want to say, Ashley, thank you for providing this forum today. This is what it's about. This is what's going to create that multiplier effect and what's going to help us grow the message. So on the business side of it, what I can say is that I think that the business community as a whole, or I could say I know that the business community as a whole stands ready to support this effort, Mayor. From the small companies to the large firms, everybody's ready to help amplify this message. As Robert Charles Photography, we have the unique perspective of having been here and doing business in the greater Springfield area for a little over 40 years. As a matter of fact, the good mayor was somebody that we worked with a year or 2 back, along with Rick here.
Rick, yeah, did both our weddings.
More than a few years.
A year or 2 ago. So we have that perspective, and we have the sense of how unique the time is right now. You know, if there was ever a time to do this, it's right here, it's right now. We're now launching a 3rd generation to our family business with Link to VR, which is a virtual and augmented reality company. We worked with TechSpring downtown Springfield, so we had a front seat at being able to see the development and how it's helping investment dollars come into Springfield, into the region. And now we're out there actively trying to bring and recruit talent from that millennial pool of talented individuals graduating from UMass, Western New England, and other institutions. And what we're finding is there's a draw out east and to other parts of this country for that talent. And it's on us to help educate this group that there's tremendous opportunity right here, right now in Western Massachusetts. And that's what I'm hoping that this campaign is all about.
And there's also an alignment right now with the companies, and I know you've shown clips, you know, of who was at the meeting last week, and it was really the CEOs and the business leaders of all of the different sectors, whether it was Chancellor Subaswamy in higher ed, or Mark Kerouac in Mercy from medical, or Maura McCaffrey from Health New England, you know, the power companies, and really it was all across the sectors, the bankers and education and everybody else, because they're looking for workers. So there's an opportunity here now because we have jobs for people to come and to locate here. Western Massachusetts has a lot to offer in terms of quality of life, cost of living, a very different lifestyle, understandably, but cost of living in terms of being able to have a really solid middle-class lifestyle here in Western Massachusetts. We have an attractive package to be able to offer, and these companies have a vested interest in seeing this momentum continue because they're looking for those workers. They're looking to grow their businesses. Big Y will sell more groceries if the more people move here and are going to their stores. So there's opportunities here as we grow this momentum. So it's important, and I think the fact that the week of Christmas, to be able to fill the room on pretty short notice, and to see the caliber of the individuals and the companies that came, just show you exactly the importance of this campaign. But it also shows you how much momentum is really out there right now and the opportunity to harness that.
Jobs are out there. Tim Brennan mentioned Rick, and that workforce development is a key caveat for my administration, and Kevin Kennedy and I working together. Urban centers across America, Ashley, are reinventing themselves, redefining themselves. There's a phenomena occurring in urban America. Empty nesters, baby boomers, and millennials, as mentioned here. Empty nesters want to downsize and come back to their home city, their hometown. The millennials like the action of the downtown area. They want to live, work, and play. That's my move to market rate housing. And the baby boomers, same thing. They want to come back, and you have to offer them the housing opportunities. You have to offer them the eclectic mix of entertainment and restaurants, and we have MGM. And all of a sudden, you start to build a mass of positive bodies of all creed colors and backgrounds coming to your downtown areas. And as Rick alluded to, people start saying, geez, I really like it here. Let me start looking at the neighborhoods. So you invest, you buy a house. We're moving forward on all fronts, our school department, our public safety, Superintendent Warwick, Commissioner Barberi, all facts and figures. And Tim Brennan, I think, might allude to, an economist, when we do the Knowledge Corridor, will indicate that Springfield, out of the bigger cities in this New England area, take Boston out of it, is ahead of all the benchmarks. We need to tell this story, though.
And I think we need to sustain it. As far as economy goes, job one is attracting, retaining talent. That is our #1 holy grail, so to speak. So many of the projects I know that I'm working on at the Planning Commission have everything to do with attracting and retaining talent. The mayor talked about Union Station. I'm trying to get trains through it. Yeah. So in 2018, we'll get 12 trains a day coming up out of a new commuter service, but we want to pull those up the valley, get that regional, again, boom. We're going to launch a regional bike share in the spring, the first all-electric bike share program in New England. Springfield is part of that, and we'll anchor the southern portion of that nexus. So more and more, we have to sort of embed our thinking with what do we do to make ourselves attractive to workers, especially young workers, and they want to stay here, and they have a whole suite of amenities that make that argument very strong.
I just want to add to this that, this is not at least, and this is my perspective from talking with you, Mayor, is that this is not up to just the mayor and his team. This takes everybody. He stepped out and called for us to come together and make this happen. And it's going to take a regional effort for all the business community, the media, as well as those who live here, to really step up and help amplify this message. And in regards to, reaching the millennials and whatnot, we're going to talk about how do we get in touch with the millennials. And, it probably isn't necessarily this group that's going to figure that out, okay? We might need some help, and exactly, okay? But I am very confident. But we can do it, okay? And we get the right folks in the room, and we help. My father used to say that you can have the greatest business in the world, but if nobody around you knows it, it doesn't matter. And we could do all the best things, make all the right decisions, do all the right steps, but if we don't tell that story, as the mayor said, then nobody's going to know. And it's up to us to help get the word out about all this incredible economic development that's taking place. And it needs everybody to come to the table to make that happen.
It was very enthusiastic. And again, I want to thank Rick Sullivan at EDC. chair, EDC director, and George Arwady. We made that call out in a very short time frame. All the players were there from all the different sectors, and the momentum, and it is time now. And they're going to pony up money, as the city's going to put skin in this game too, the story to tell. But when you look upon it, just with the city of Springfield, if somebody was to talk about their city and said, geez, you know, you have the largest railway company, manufacturing company in the world, I'm just saying a generic city. You have the intermodal transportation, the largest in Western Massachusetts. You have international resort coming in. You have $3.3 billion in economic development. You have stable finances. On top of that, this city had to deal with unprecedented natural and man-made disasters, which you would think people would say, you're against the ropes, the haymaker's coming, it's time to turn the lights off. The exact opposite has happened. That's why we need to tell this story about opportunities, about jobs, about being able to grow yourself and your family here in Springfield and Western Massachusetts. And having these experts by my side, besides my city people, is key. And media partners tell our story about the positive things going on.
Okay, when we return, we'll be discussing transportation in the region. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Watching 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about economic development in Springfield and the region for 2018. Union Station opened earlier this year as a transportation hub. Peter Pan Bus Lines has moved their operations and corporate headquarters to Union Station after spending decades at their Main Street location. So now let's talk about the expansion of public transportation. Is that part of the long-term plan for the region?
It better be. Transportation, particularly on the rail side, is a game changer, and it connects to what we were talking about earlier. The ability to attract and retain young people are not interested in owning a car any longer. The numbers, the latest count I looked at, we have the lowest level of teenage auto driving in our history. So we have to provide the alternatives that these young folks are interested in. That tends to be rail. So we have coming in 2018 commuter rail service that Connecticut is launching in May that will come into Union Station. That'll be 12 trains a day. I'm cautiously optimistic we can take some of those trains and actually pull them up the valley to as far as Greenfield to get that benefit spread even wider. I think the biggest project in terms of building on this is a connection to Boston. Study was finished back in 2016. The recommendations are very, very positive. 8 round trips a day between Boston, Springfield, New Haven, and then use that same rail network to get to Montreal and reconnect with Montreal. That's a longer range project. It's undeniably more expensive. But it's really, I think, a linchpin to really making transportation investments have a huge beneficial effect and pull out some of that hot economy of Boston to be shared elsewhere across the Commonwealth.
How much of an economic benefit do you think an east-west rail would be?
I could speak first person to the fact that we recently opened up a space in Boston, and that trek back and forth is something. And the ability to work while you're making that trek is exponential. I mean, the benefit to that. Then you throw on top of it the conversations we have with folks that we're meeting with in Boston about the cost of living in Boston and how much they would like to be able to be living further outside of Boston to take advantage of, I feel, a competitive advantage that we have out here with the cost of living. I think it would be astronomical.
Absolutely. Some of my colleagues on the West Coast I've used as examples. If you could equip these trains with Wi-Fi and convince employers that their workers can log on while they're on the train, it's a game changer. And also, people just do not work 9 to 5 anymore. There's a whole different pattern of work that's much more eclectic, working at home, making trips to New York or to Boston with the benefit of a rail mode would be hugely beneficial for our region.
So that's something they're successfully using on the West Coast right now?
Yes, absolutely. Because again, if you know any of the large cities on the West Coast, they're extremely expensive. San Francisco is probably the most expensive in the nation now. The ability to get workers into San Francisco and get them back to a place they can barely afford is all important in terms of the transportation link.
They have, again, I want to really give up some accolades, big accolades to Congressman Neal, to Richie, who never lost sight of this project, and we worked hand in hand on that. And also like to thank Senator Lesser on this East-West. Three things here. We have to find out who is going to pay for this link. That's extremely important. Maybe with President Trump or the federal government. They're talking about infrastructure projects, something possible there. The connections, as Ed and Tim had indicated, I think Rick will say too, it's got to be much more speedier too, so you can have stops all over. And then working with all the modes of transportation. But now to harness getting the east coming here to the west, where it is very, economically here, it is a good life to live out here. The costs are much, much lower. And to be able to, the millennials, you're absolutely right. A lot of them don't, when we were growing up, you couldn't wait to get a car, get behind the wheel. Now many of them hop on that rail. So it would be advantageous, and we can't lose sight on the north-south. A lot of times we have much more in common with the north-south, the Knowledge Corridor. But why not look into a new frontier? If it's cost-effective, if it's efficient, it could be something that could be very beneficial to Western Massachusetts.
There's a lesson, I think, too, that should be learned from the past, and that is, but for the rail connection, which business invested in back in the 1800s, Springfield would not be the largest city in the region. It was men and women from that era that decided, bring the railroad to Springfield, and that will ride its economic fortunes into the future, and that proven to be true. Now we're trying to reinvent that thesis all over again.
Okay, now let's switch now to some of the jobs that are coming. A lot of jobs coming to Springfield, and many of them coming with MGM Springfield. Where currently does the project stand, first of all? Are they on time? Have they told your office?
Yeah, they're a bit ahead of schedule, as with the I-91 viaduct also, which is months ahead of schedule. So there's a possibility that there could maybe, they want to build momentum, that they could maybe open up a little bit earlier. But there are thousands of jobs that have been created already in the construction and the trades, which has been very, very important. But you're going to have upwards of 3,000 jobs coming on with MGM. And those jobs are not only white-collar jobs, but blue-collar jobs, and a huge percentage are paying $50,000 or more with great, great benefits. And this ranges anything from, IT to management, not only gaming to culinary, you name it, it's going to be there. Spin-off effects have been tremendous, and I think Rick Sullivan could speak on that. Procurement has been huge, and supplies, materials, vendors are needed, and that spin-off effect has been very, very important. We've also had a multitude of spin-off effects occurring on investment coming in other area businesses. Falvey Linen came from Providence, Rhode Island. $10 million investment, 100 jobs to get into the linen business in this area. Big thing, and maybe Rick and others can speak on this, workforce development, because you're going to have people that'll be jumping for these opportunities, which in turn will open up other opportunities with other businesses. So the workforce development, working with STIC, Holyoke Community College, and as far as the training that's going on, so it's going to give a lot of opportunity. People are hungry to work, move into careers, and we're also working very closely on a sidelight with precision manufacturing. Western Mass and Northern Connecticut is a hotbed for precision manufacturing, CNC, and that's why we're stressing in our school system STEM teaching, math and science, that it's cool to learn that because you can make money moving forward, and it's not your father or grandfather's time when they worked in a dark, dingy manufacturing setting. Plenty of jobs are going to be available. We're preparing for it now, and MGM has been a big catalyst. They're a third of the $3.3 billion in economic development we have going on in Springfield.
That is a perfect segue into our next segment, and we will continue this conversation when we return. You're watching 22 News in Focus. 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about economic development and growth in the greater Springfield region for 2018. We were just talking about the MGM Springfield project and where it stands currently, and we're also talking about how local businesses have benefited so far. So let me ask you that. How many businesses have benefited from the project?
So I think MGM really deserves a lot of credit for two things specifically around economic development that they've done, and really done since the day they initially came to town. In their host community agreement with the city, they've committed that if they can find $50 million a year, they will spend that every year in the local economy with vendors. That is a huge opportunity for the existing local businesses, because when you do business with the local business, those dollars stay right in the community where they are. And those companies, you know, hire your neighbors, they pay local property taxes, they support the Little League teams and the Girl Scouts and the church groups. Those dollars stay here. And MGM has worked very, very hard to find those vendors. And, you know, they have lists that are posted online. You can go to their website and find those, and really opened it up to the local business community. And that's a firm commitment that they're following through on. The other is really with workforce development and finding those 3,000 individuals that they need to fill those jobs that are available. And they are on the ground working partnerships with Springfield Technical Community College, with HCC. They're opened up, or will be opening up, the new culinary center, which is focused, you know, obviously on culinary and hospitality skills, not just for MGM, but for the rest of the economy here in Western Massachusetts, creating those jobs. They've reached down and are working with Putnam and in the other area, vocational technical schools, in terms of, again, culinary, but also IT and some other jobs that are appropriate coming out of high school. And I think most importantly, an issue that we are plagued with is retaining the talent. And MGM has a clear career pathway. So if you come in, even if you're coming in at an entry-level job at MGM, in a relatively short period of time, you can climb that ladder and find that second and third jobs that will keep that talent here in the region. They really have followed through and fulfilled the promises that they made when they were awarded the casino license here in Springfield, and I think they are to be commended for that. And they're not going to stop on the day they open, because it's going to be an ongoing operation that they're going to need to fill those needs. But those are both real economic opportunities here in the region that will further grow that investment that MGM's making.
Mayor, what have you heard so far? You mentioned it a little bit before. These are all kinds of jobs from the top down, but what do they really need right now? What kind of training?
There's specific training at Springfield Technical Community College. They're doing the gaming training there, and as Rick mentioned priorly, Holyoke Community College is the culinary. But when you look at it from management on down, so you have from house cleaning on up, you have IT, management, beverage, you have the security. I mean, you name it. This is a massive worldwide corporation that brings world-class entertainment. So for people also that are not interested in the gaming aspect of it, which MGM only generates about 32% of their revenue or so, 28% on gaming, it's retail and the culinary and entertainment, world-class entertainment, they're going to need, as a company, you're going to need maintenance. You're going to need IT, you're going to need management. So it runs the gamut. So besides white-collar jobs, a tremendous amount of good-paying blue-collar jobs. And people are hungry out there to work, and the training we're already starting. It'll be starting very shortly. And what Rick had mentioned, MGM in national publications, very renowned for their career track. And Ed mentioned, too, about how we want to keep the millennials, the talent here. And we want those empty nesters and baby boomers to come downtown, live downtown, and be able to entertain themselves downtown. So you name it, and here at TV at 22, all the different positions you have here. Multiply that into the thousands. That's what MGM is offering. And this also opens up opportunities. People might jump from the current position they have in another business or establishment, which opens up other opportunities for people to move into those positions. So it's a good time. If you want to work hard, you have an opportunity here, and we want you to prosper here in the city of Springfield, Western Massachusetts.
Ashley, if I could build on that, just what I want to add is as someone who's now had the privilege to work with MGM a few times through a number of different projects, we've been around for a little while, so we've had the privilege to work for a number of Fortune 500 companies over the years, and I have to tell you, they don't always make it easy on the small business, okay? They put you through a fair number of hurdles, and there's a lot of contracts, and there's hiring of lawyers, and all sorts of things to get in that door. And then a lot of them actually, once you contract with them, they're sensitive about the use of their logo or any reference to the fact that you've worked with them, et cetera, et cetera. I can't say enough how MGM has been exceptional in that they not only are being true to their word and investing in in this region, but they're helping those small businesses get in the front door, get the opportunity to work with them, get a chance to see what it's like working with a Fortune 500 company, and then they're offering the option of them being able to add their MGM logo to their website and things like that, which can help cultivate new business with other Fortune 500 companies. So that's that exponential effect that happens with an investment the size of MGM into Springfield, Massachusetts.
And when you have a smaller company that all of a sudden gets a large contract with a big vendor, that also then creates some needs to potentially hire some additional employees, make some capital investments, provide some other opportunity. You may have to build out your storefront. You may have to find storage opportunities. So, you know, that might mean that you've got to start working with your local bank or your credit union for financing. So it's not just as simple as, you know, sending an email and landing a contract. There's a lot of hard work that has to happen. So the local lending community has really stepped up to provide some assistance to the smaller businesses that want to take advantage of this opportunity with MGM if that opportunity in fact comes around. And one thing, and the mayor mentioned it, that shouldn't be lost here is that some of these jobs that are going to be created are actually going to be backfills of existing companies. So some of those people that are going to go to work as cashiers or tellers are going to come from the banks or the insurance, or the food workers are going to come from the other food services that are currently offered here in the region. So, you know, it kind of only goes back to the whole point of why this image campaign is important, because those are all the opportunities right now. The number of jobs and opportunities in this region, in the city in particular, is really significant. And, you know, we need people to take notice of that and, quite frankly, take advantage of that opportunity.
It's also important to note that many of the jobs MGM is trying to recruit from inside Springfield, and they will be at off hours. So another group that's stepping up and working with MGM is our transit authority, the PVTA, to run in off hours during the night and in the weekend, so that men and women who would like to access jobs aren't prohibited by not being able to get to the casino itself.
And they're already putting in place, you know, child care, because that is going to be an issue again, particularly for off hours for those things. So they've worked very closely with the regional employment boards, with the child care providers, with other partners that are out there like community partners and Farm Bureau to really, you know, get the number of people they need, but to also get over those and solve those barriers to employment that many people might have, particularly at those off hours, because it is a 24/7, 365. There's no weekends or holidays off. You know, the doors are always open. So it's a little bit of a different operation than we're typically used to.
So more PVTA buses then are already going through, more routes as well?
It's more that they're operating in times of the night and the weekend that service is not available. And so there are funds that the casino generates that go through the Mass Gaming Commission that are being looked at to sort of be committed to that purpose. That's decision-making that gets made by the Gaming Commission in concert with others, but it looks to be a strong prospect because it helps them achieve their goals, and they're pretty important goals.
Okay. We'll find out how they plan to keep visitors, workers, and residents safe when we return. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Back to 22 22 News in Focus. Today we've been talking about economic development projects that impact Springfield and surrounding communities in 2018. With the influx of projects and people expected in the next few months, security is also an important issue. So we've been talking about MGM Springfield, and one concern a lot of residents in this area have had is security and safety. You're bringing in all these people. How are you going to keep the Springfield area safe?
Well, you know, first of all, for any urban mayor in America, there's three things that continue to knock down the vicious cycle of poverty, public safety issues. One is family, familia, and sometimes that's tough to get involved in, but 1A is education, and then jobs. And the recipe is right here in the city of Springfield for that. But specifically working with Commissioner Barbieri, and we're going to partner with our state police through MGM money and the academies I continue to do out of my city budget. We're going to have a separate and distinct policing unit in the downtown area and a fire unit, and we're going to have police kiosks and substations in our downtown area to allow us, with the thousands of people, millions a year coming, matriculating here, to be safe, clean, aesthetic quality, the whole 9 yards. And that allows me also to continue to put more police officers in our neighborhoods. So there's a comprehensive approach, not only for policing, but for hospitality. So you'll see from the south end of Springfield, Morris Street and Central Street, you're going to have a police kiosk that is there manned 24/7. The blue lights that you'll be able to see down on the riverfront and the old depot area of the riverfront train station area there, that's going to be another kiosk that you'll see from 91 and matriculating whether pedestrian and vehicular. You're going to see a police kiosk at Taylor and Main Street. You're going to see a substation behind the Mass Mutual Center on Dwight Street. And then you're going to see some stuff occurring in Court Square. So in your alignment of vision, you're going to see that police presence there, not only for public safety and bringing in thousands of people every day, also brings safety there too, but they're also going to be hospitality driven there too. So it'll be very well policed in the area, and also working with the state police. But it's also going to allow me to put more police officers, expansion of C3 into our neighborhood areas, which Commissioner Barbieri's initiative has worked very, very well. So you're going to start seeing these, the foundations are already going in for those kiosks already in the downtown area. You're going to start seeing this ramp up as early as March and April.
How many additional jobs are we talking?
Downtown, you'll have probably a unit upwards of about 40 on it. And I just finished another academy of 40. I'm going to continue to do academies with fire and police so we can stay ahead of attrition. And that all goes to good financing and budgeting. My CFO, TJ Plant, we make sure that we try to be efficient, effective, and also compassionate. So we're going to try to stay ahead of attrition. But again, I want to reiterate, this is not taking any policing away from our neighborhoods, which are very important to me. We're going to be actually putting more police out there. But when you have people visiting the city, you want them to come here, have a great time, and spread that word that we had a great time in Springfield. After that, we shot into Western Mass, we went here, we went there. Come to the Western Mass region. So sometimes you got to spend money to make money, because if you don't do it the right way, it costs you tenfold down the road.
So, and as the mayor was saying, there is jurisdiction of the state police that they'll have at the casino itself. And I believe they're looking to put on a unit of about 19. MGM was actually in front of the mitigation committee for the gaming commission, which is an advisory group to the commission, looking to pay for those 19 individuals to go to the next academy. But MGM's already started to put their force in place there. And those dollars are dollars that will be generated by MGM at in the casino operation, so they are not general fund dollars going for that. So they're looking to train up through the academy, as the mayor referenced, the state police officers that will come there. And the one thing that was very clear is that there's a good, close working relationship between the state police and the city of Springfield in terms of public safety in there, and everybody understands that that's clearly an important aspect.
Okay, you just mentioned state police. Are they, MGM Springfield, putting any money for some of these additional Springfield police officers?
Oh, yes, yes. They've made an investment in that. That's allowing us to have this unit coming down there. And it's coupled with, you know, proper management of our general fund budget. But the initiative of money that came in from MGM has helped me continue to move forward on doing these police academies and proper budgeting. So this is a separate and distinct plan that allows for a unit that you're going to have Deputy Chief Bill Cochran, Captain Trent Huffnagel. They're going to, the C3 policing model is this from Commissioner Barbieri. You own it 24/7. This is your area of the city, this is your neighborhood, this is your district. You own it 24/7. So that's on top of the regular district policing that goes on. So that's extremely important on the C3 policing, the quality of life, the ordnance squad that we have. But the influx of the MGM money has been very instrumental in moving the public safety plan forward.
Actually, I just want to build on the fact that some of this has already started to happen. It's already happening right now. For instance, Unify Against Bullying is a nonprofit organization that's new to the area. It was originally located out of East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. As it was growing, it was looking for a new home and could have selected anywhere. And the location that was selected was downtown Springfield, Massachusetts, at the Mass Live building. Very excited, by the way, about having it located there. And that particular organization holds events and brings in a lot of young women, young men, mothers, fathers, and whatnot to downtown Springfield. And their sense of comfort and their sense of excitement and enthusiasm we've seen shift over the last few years, largely because of what's happening with MGM and all the economic development that's already taking place. So I just want to say that some of the work that's already been done is already starting to have an effect.
Do you expect the downtown Springfield area to be more of a walking city, that part of it, once the casino opens?
We've always been pedestrian friendly, and that's why for conferences and seminars and conventions here, that's how we sell it, that you're literally from the North Block to the South Block, downtown, riverfront, you're literally 5 minutes away. But when you, that's the whole key, and I've told businesses that are here looking to expand or new looking to come here new, that if you run a good business, you have a good quality product, you're going to have the population here, you can make money. But when you look at downtown, the millennials, people would laugh at me and say, you're never going to get a college or university downtown. Well, they're absolutely right. We have 4 now. You have Cambridge College, you have the University of Massachusetts, I have Springfield College, Carol Leary came down with Bay Path College, and this all starts as the spur with the millennials there, market rate housing that we have going on. The T-Birds, and I can't say enough about our local businessman, Paul Picknelly, really spearheading that, have done tremendous in their marketing and getting people move around the symphony on it. And this is all about, and coordinating with our policing, convention, and visitors bureau, Mary Kay Wydra, it's very walkable. And with our hotels are situated, very walkable, which is a great sell for conventions. And now having the world-renowned MGM here, people might not like gaming at all. That's fine. But they like world-class entertainment. They like the dining establishments that we have. And they like the retail. And that's more of the eclectic mix we're looking to bring.
All right, we'll have the last word for you after the break. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Today we've been talking about the economic development opportunities for Springfield and surrounding communities for the coming year. That's our program for today. We want to thank our guests for joining us and thank you at home for watching. If you missed any of it, you can watch it in full on our website, wwlp.com. From all of us here at 22 News, we wish you a wonderful Sunday.